Guys, today I'm going to demonstrate some wet into wet techniques. To do these techniques, you're going to need some brushes. I've got here a synthetic round and a squirrel round. You're going to of course need your paints, and you're going to need at least 1 cup of clean water. And wet into wet is one of the most common, or it's a very common technique frequently used by watercolor artists. So it is, and it's not as complicated as I'm probably making it sound. It's really basic, and once you see that, you guys are going to be like, I don't know what she was going on about. I went and grabbed a flat. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm just going to block in an area. You guys probably can't see it unless it is reflective. No, you cannot see it. And I'm just going to grab some paint. I've got some Daniel Smith Undersea Green. I'll pop it here, just a little dot. Mix it with my brush and dab it in. You guys can see that with wet into wet you get a very soft diffused stroke, whereas wet onto dry, so wet paint onto dry paper, you get a harder stroke, and you may even get some dry brushing, whereas in wet into wet you're not really going to get any dry brushing. Grab a little more paint, and I am going to go ahead and create just a wash area basically. And then I'm going to grab, I guess lunar black will work. And I want to work fairly quickly. And just to demonstrate a little more clearly, so that is a sedimenting paint. The lunar black sediments out into also another sedimenting paint. Undersea Green will also sediment out. So we're also going to explore a little bit of bleeding color into color. So I've got my Undersea Green. I've got my lunar black. And I don't want to disrupt it too much because I just want the colors to kind of flow into one another naturally. And I found with wet into wet techniques, if you try to encourage it too much, you just end up with a mess and you end up losing a lot of what makes it charming. And watercolor will typically run areas with high pigment to areas with lots of water. So you can kind of control which way your paints flow by controlling your water and controlling your pigment load. Alright, I'm going to allow this to dry, and then we're going to do a whole page technique like this in time lapse. This hasn't entirely dried yet, but you guys can already see a lot of the beautiful color separation in both the lunar black and the undersea green. I am going to go ahead and remove it, and I'm going to do a small checkered board pattern, wet into wet, on the other side in time lapse. Now I need to let this dry and we can check out the end results. But already you guys could see how the color would flow into the areas that were just white paint, more so than they would necessarily flow color into color. So you have a lot of these white squares which have absorbed a lot of the color from multiple squares around them. I'm going to go ahead and link other wet into wet technique videos here in the cards. So if you're looking for more wet into wet inspiration, check those out as well. Alright guys, so this has finished drying. You guys can definitely see some really nice separation going on with these colors. I specifically selected these colors because they have such interesting properties. I thought they would make for some really neat wet into wet techniques. This isn't the end of, or rather, I have more wet into wet technique tutorials coming up on this channel. So if you enjoy this, please look forward to those. And if you're looking for something a little more in depth, a little something more to chew on, head on over to natosoup.blogspot.com for my watercolor basics series, or hang out here on the channel and check out my watercolor playlist. It is full of a variety of tutorials that not only cover very basic techniques like this wet into wet demonstration here today, but cover full illustrations and even comic pages. So I hope to see you guys again really soon. And if there's ever a technique you guys would like to see me cover, either in more depth or do a brief demonstration of, let me know in the comments below. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you again really soon. Bye guys!